Two-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro cornerback during his 11-year NFL career. He's played for the Chargers, Jets, Cardinals, and most recently the Colts last season. Antonio Cromartie, welcome back to Undisputed.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Those cowboy colors today, right? Are you campaigning?
I wore just for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's get to the latest in Dallas. Jerry Jones met with his players yesterday to discuss his stance on protests during the national anthem. After Sunday's game, Jerry said players will not play if they show disrespect during the anthem. ESPN reports Jerry made those comments in order to play the bad guy and draw attention away from his players. Dak Prescott said the meeting went well and the team, quote, ironed everything out that we needed to at this time. Antonio, if you were in that Cowboys locker room, what advice would you give the young Cowboys players?
I think the biggest thing is to understand, like, what's the real reason why everyone's still kneeling. You know, understanding, like, yeah, we can talk to the owner, talk to Jerry Jones, we can talk to whoever we need to talk to, but at the end of the day, we're still not making progress in what we really need to try to do. And that's meeting with city officials, meeting with the mayor, meeting with the commissioner of the police department, meeting with the DEA, understanding that at the same time, we got to try to bring it all together to figure out a plan to move forward. And then we can start talking about not taking a knee so we can move forward. I mean, we got 32 teams that's in the NFL in different cities. Why hasn't those guys or some guys that's on the team met with those city officials to try to move forward, to try to make a plan to move forward and be more in the community, like going on police rides and understanding what the police are going through, going inside the communities and having community policing with the police officer, going door to door to understand who your neighbors are, who the police officer is going to be, you know, in that area. So, I mean, you got to create a plan and just figure out what you want to do from that standpoint.
That's great, and you are right. You're looking at the biggest picture of this that people are losing sight of. But I also know that a year ago, October, you were an Indianapolis Colt, and I think you were instructed, and it came from the top from your owner, Robert Irsay, to stand for the anthem, and you knelt, right?
Sure did.
Okay, so now you have the most prominent NFL owner, Jerry Jones, drawing a line in the public sand with a decree that you will stand for the anthem. So I think if you're talking to the young players, you've been called out. You've been pushed back into a corner, and I think you'd say we have to do what we believe in here, right?
You have to do what you believe, but at the same time, you have to have a standard for yourself. Is it you want to be a show pony for everyone, or are you going to be a man of standards and stand up for what you believe in at the end of the day? Like we're like everyone says, we're entertainers in the NFL business, but at the same time, we also have a life and a community to stand up for also. So that's something that we got to look at, like we got to hold ourselves to. But at the same time, you have to pray about it. You got to understand what you want in life. You want to be held and call somebody that doesn't stand up for your community, or do you want to be somebody that just makes $1 million and don't say anything or don't do anything for the community at the same time too?
Pro, you echoed what I've said, is that while money would help and it would be commendable, they want the influence. Talk to these officials at the local, at the state levels, and have an understanding of what we want. Police are brutalizing our communities, and we want this to stop. We want people to be held accountable for their actions. We want social and racial justice in America. And I told people, and I say this all the time, they will pray for black folk. They'll listen to rich white folks. So those 32 owners, you got a lot of influence. Because when you want the Super Bowl, you go down there, you talk to local officials and state officials, and guess what? The Super Bowl comes. When you want that big, classy new stadium, Jerry Jones went and talked to somebody in the Dallas or the Arlington or the Frisco, wherever he was. He talked to somebody, and they got the ball rolling. So that's what we want. We want you to put that same kind of pressure on the local legislators, on the state legislators, and to hear us what we're saying. Going in our communities, and I commend the guys that go in their communities and speak and talk, but at the end of the day, if policy is not changed and law is not changed, those players going in that community, nothing will change. So we're asking the NFL, we're asking those 32 owners, you say you want to help. You hear our cries. Okay, we're telling you what we would like for you to do. If you're serious about these issues, if you're serious about wanting us to say we're united, and when one of our brothers are suffering, we're all suffering. If it's just not talk, if it's just not for show, Show me. Boo, hey, you know, like you see Gerard on one knee, got his eyes closed, he probably praying. But a lot of people, a lot of Cowboy players believe Jerry did this for show because a couple of players said it was trash. A couple of players said it's totally against what he said. What he's saying now goes against everything he said leading up to Arizona. So, Jerry, if you for real, owners, you for real, give us some of that influence.
Maybe that's the same thing with Stephen Ross. He said the same exact thing. Now he's backtracking. So you got to look at it from that standpoint.
Well, he's saying that the president sort of, so to speak, trumped him and said he made this about patriotism.
He doesn't run. He doesn't run the NFL. He doesn't run. He's barely running the country right now. So.
Right. Well, he's running the country. He's just not doing a great job.
That's the point. You can't try to be a dictator and try to understand like what we're going through as players in the black community. The biggest thing for us is, like we said, meet with the owners, meet with the city officials, meet with those legislators, and get into the community and try to figure out what we can do.
By all accounts, it was reported that that's what Jerry was offering to do yesterday, but he was playing both sides against the middle because he dug in publicly after he got a phone call from the President of the United States that you will stand for the anthem, and he decreed we will stand or we will not play. That's a strong thing. You're asking for, as Jesse Jackson said, that's a showdown between the owner and the players.
Because the Cowboy players, Skip, they heard those very comments come from the president. So is that you talking, Jerry, or is that the president of the United States talking through you? Through you.
So Jerry, the classic super salesman, goes in yesterday. I'm just going off the reports. And he tells his players, I had to play the bad cop, probably because that guy told me to play the bad cop. But I'm going to go back to being the good cop with you guys, but you need to do me one favor. I'm going to go out in the community. That's what all the reports said, that he offered, we'll hook you up. We'll connect you with all these people you need to be connected with. I'll be with you on this. But you need to stand for me in San Francisco and going forward in this season.
No, Jerry, what we need you to do, the things that we need you to do, we need you to go to those lawmakers. They're not in our communities. We need to go to those state and local level guys. As he said, the commissioner, the city commissioner, the mayor, the state commission, the governor.
Jerry knows those guys.
I know he knows them. That's what he knows. Those 32 knows everybody.
He can pull some
strings. Let me give you this. All right. The day I got cut in Indy, we went, Robert Mathis, DeQuell Jackson, and Overlook, the long time that I was there, met with city officials.
Really?
Put a plan together. We was going to do police rides, try to have coffee with police officers and all that stuff. So we was trying to get everything moved and move forward.
Right.
Got cut that day. I mean, guys are still Robert Mathis is still doing the plan every single week. They're doing police rides, going into the community, going door to door. And they're going out into the communities with the police officers so they can understand, like, hey, look, cops are here to protect us and serve. They're not here to try to kill us. They're not here to try to do this. So it makes things easier. So now you have a plan that's set forth by players, not by the owners, but by players to go into the communities with the police officers to make sure that everyone feels safe and have police officers get out of their cars, walking around, getting to know the people that's in the community, but they're not always afraid and running from the police.
And just for the record, you believe that your kneeling had something to do with your getting cut?
100%.
Okay. Maybe everything to do with
everything.
Your getting cut. Ooh.
That's the thing. We just need to. The money will be nice. It will be very commendable because look, throwing $2-3 million at a problem doesn't necessarily mean you solve the problem until you change the policy of how these officers interact with people in those communities. Until this social and racial injustice, until it's like even black, white, doesn't matter. The crime is the crime. The person is the person. Until then, nah, Jerry, you go in the community. We want you. You got that call. You think President Trump's line was blocked? Oh, but Jerry got the main line, so Jerry can call him. See, we can't get in touch with him. He called Jerry. He'll listen to them. They'll pray for us.
Well, a big misconception is that a lot of these players who are kneeling and protesting are not actually going out in the community. Like you said, you were setting that up. Just yesterday, Kenny Stills and Michael Thomas were meeting with not just the community, but bringing the community to the police officers and city officials, and Roger Goodell was there. So there are things being done in the community, because a lot of people complaining about kneeling, just saying that you just want attention, or you're just complaining, or you're being a spoiled brat, and you're not actually going and doing anything.
That's what they say about athletes that have a lot of money.
Right.
That you're being spoiled.
You're not being oppressed.
You're attention seeking.
But see,
this was never about athletes.
No.
It's always
it's
about the community.
Right.
Always about the community.
Right.
It's nothing about athletes. It's about the community that we was raised in and that we want to see move forward. Stop being oppressed and stop the police brutality.
Yes.
Stop looking at us like we're always out to kill or to steal something and treat us like human beings. That's the biggest thing. Treat us like a human. You walk around and you look around. I can go to a store right now, no matter how much money I have, and I still get followed around in the store. For what? Why? I'm not here to steal nothing. I'm looking just like everybody else is looking. So why am I getting looked at a certain way just because of the color of my skin? It shouldn't be like that. Never should be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that as Americans, like we gotta stop looking at everything as in like in sight of, like Ashana said, in a white man's eyes. Like look at it from everybody's standpoint. Like we all made in the image of God. That's it.
That's
made
right.
into one image, and that's the biggest thing. Only thing that changes us is the skin color, but we still got the same blood because we got the blood of Christ. That's it.
With you. Okay, another note of perspective from Jerry's point of view. I do flinch when I hear people say, you can't take away their First Amendment right to freedom of speech. Well, if you do take that check from that owner, you're going to give up some of your rights to freedom of speech, because as we sit here right now, we talked about this earlier, there are certain boundaries. We have a lot of leeway on this show and on this network, but trust me, there are these boundaries over here, and if you step over that boundary, you're gone. And there have been a number of people, because of the age of social media over the last 2 or 3 years, that have lost big jobs because they went home and posted something that did not represent the views of the company which was paying them.
Right.
And you're out. So you have to also keep some perspective that Jerry does have some right to say, well, you're representing America's team.
Well, just tell them, how about this, Skip? Just tell them, say, look, if you don't want to stand for the anthem, if you're going to kneel, just stay in the tunnel, stay in the locker room till the anthem is over. But don't tell me, oh, you're going to stand, you're going to hold a helmet like this, you're going to put the hand like that.
Nope.
No, that's going too far.
Nope.
Now. If you don't want to stand, whatever your reasons are, stay in the tunnel out of sight, stay in the locker room.
Plus, given the climate we're in and what President Trump tweeted about SOBs, you can't draw a line in the public sand. You can't push these players, especially the black players, into a corner and say, you will stand. It just doesn't. It's not going to play well in the locker room.
It's not.
And I still believe it's not playing that well in the Cowboy locker room. They have a week off to go home. Everybody went home now to reflect for 4 days, and I believe this is going to be a team divided as they head to San Francisco.
I don't think I'm going to say this. You still have a business. You still have to go out and go play football. Like we understand. Like our whole thing is a social injustice, but we still have a job to do. And I don't think the locker room is not going to be divided enough to go out and not go play football at the levels they're going to play. I think it's just a point of it's the communication and the being able to talk about the subject. Yeah, it's a very uncomfortable subject to talk about, but it has to be talked about. That's the only way that we're going to move forward and push forward to make things better in our communities and with everyone else. You know, and I think that's something that we have to realize as players too. Like, yeah, we don't want to talk about it. Like I think Orlando, you know, after the meetings, he said the only thing I can support right now is pink cleats. But at the same time, what was he playing in the locker room?
He was playing.
FD. But that's just something that's showing. It's still divided. It's always going to be division because it's a sore subject to talk about.
So bottom line, hypothetically, and I said yesterday, my heart is with these guys, but what if the stars of the team finally decided we have to stand up by not standing up for the anthem? What if they go to San Francisco and Dak and Zeke and Dez, let's just say those three, they choose to kneel? What do you think would happen?
Nothing.
Do you think they're not going to be playing in the football game?
Oh, they're going to play.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
This is the owner who fired Jimmy Johnson after 2 Super Bowls and stepped in the first day of ownership and fired Tom Landry. That's what he's made of.
Those guys will play.
Jerry don't like losing. I mean, it sounded good.
Misconstrued to Jerry as losing.
Yeah, well.
Well, I think they still have a lot of communication going on in that locker room and in that organization about what's really going on. Because either he's going to play the good cop, bad cop, whatever it's going to be.
Well, I think that's the problem also. He's trying to play
both sides.
And
but I know you play in the role. See, the good cop, bad cop, between Skip and I, you don't know which one is good, which one is bad. But if you playing both of them, and I know you playing both of them, I ain't listening to you.
Well, because nothing sounds genuine.
Exactly.
Should Odell be the highest paid player in football? We'll discuss that next.
That's a good one.